Hi everyone, this is Frank Demora with the last Chronicles of Planet Earth, and today is February 13th of 2012, and I named this post at YouTube is At the Edge of War. And I think that by the time that I'm done with this, you'll realize why I named it that. Now, most of you know that there are two wars that haven't been fulfilled yet in prophecy. And if you've been watching the news, you should be well aware that these wars are approaching us very, very fast. Now, there are two wars. First, the Psalm 83 war, of which you see all the names of the participants in that war against Israel. This is the Psalm 83 war. We believe that this is war will be taking place first. Then there's the second war, which is the Ezekiel war, which you'll find in Ezekiel chapter 38 and 39, of which Russia will lead this attack coming from the north against Israel. They will have many Islamic allies, including one of the major allies will be from Iran, that will be coming in from the right, as you see here on this map. Now, I want to give you some information that hopefully will encourage you to keep your eyes on the news, because we're going to see these wars in the not too distant future. So it would behoove you to understand what's going to happen before it actually takes place. Now, before I get to the actual prophecy about it, I want to give you the warning that Jesus gave to us in Matthew 24:7, when he told us, "For nation shall rise against nation, and kingdom against kingdom." The kingdom against kingdom would be the civil unrest we've been seeing around the world. And today I was just reading again that in Athens, Greece, they're rioting again because of the austerity budgets that are being passed. So we're starting to see the European Union going in and fulfilling this prophecy again as well. And they've been doing this because the European Union is in such trouble because of the debt crisis. Now, knowing that the Lord warned that there was going to be war, and also when you read other scriptures, you'll see he said that there'll be wars and rumors of war, of which the news was loaded with this kind of news as yesterday. Now, Paul the Apostle, under the inspiration of obviously the Holy Spirit, when the Lord told him in 1 Thessalonians 5:3, we know about when this attack's going to take place, because it says, "For when they shall say peace and safety, sudden destruction come upon them as travail upon a woman with child, and they shall not escape." So we know that during the course as calling for peace and safety in this region, we know that the arms will be taken up, the attack on Israel will take place, and Bible prophecy will be fulfilled. Now, as far as the failed peace process, you'll see that this is Benjamin Netanyahu, the Prime Minister of Israel, and this is Abbas, the leader of the Palestinian organization. So as Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu said Sunday that the Palestinian President Mahmoud Abbas has turned his back on peace after the Fatah leader warned that peace negotiations cannot resume without an Israeli settlement freeze. In other words, they want Israel to stop building on what the Palestinian leaders believes is their land. And of course, the Israeli won this land in the 1967 war, of which they claimed East Jerusalem, of which the first and the second temple, the Jewish temples were. But they demand this back, and they want all construction freezes to stop, as I said, because they know that, or at least they believe that it is their land. So this is destroying the peace process. So you can see the first part of when they'll talk peace and safety, then sudden destruction comes. And of course, as the Lord also warned, it'll happen as like a woman in labor. And this is exactly what's been happening with this peace process. So it says, Abbas spoke Sunday before the foreign ministers in the Arab League in Cairo and harshly condemned Netanyahu. He effectively posed an ultimatum before the prime minister, saying that if Netanyahu would not agree to freeze all constructions in the settlements and agree to negotiate based, here you go, 1967 borders. Again, that border was established in the 1967 war, again, when Israel claimed this part of the city in East Jerusalem. 1967 borders, and the Palestinian authorities will renew its unilateral efforts to attain statehood in the United Nations. So the Palestinian organization under this leader Abbas is saying that they're going to go directly again to the United Nations and try to get the United Nations to claim a Palestinian state. And so this is the direction that the peace process is going. It's still falling apart, and I believe that it will never get kicked off, because we know that obviously from the scriptures it says that there'll be sudden destruction when they're calling for peace and safety, and that's what we're seeing right now. Now, if you're at YouTube, please go to my site. You'll have the link there. You can read the entire article, and I would suggest that you do that. Now, let us go in, because we're talking about war, and the Krautbeimer says, at least the title to this article says, Israel will not tolerate threats of annihilation. And of course, when you go and you read Psalm 83, you will find out when you read this that these nations come together and they counsel them with themselves, saying, let us wipe out Israel. So her name isn't even mentioned anymore. So what he is referring to in this article, if you knew the scriptures, you can go right back into Psalm 83 and point out, because I believe this is definitely what he should be pointing out if he knew the scripture. So what I wanted to do, I have several links here for you. You can see this link here at my website. But he's talking about an Israeli strike. It says Israel was established to prevent a second Holocaust, not to invite one. It says the strike on Iran is inevitable. So one of the scenarios that I pointed out before is this. If Israel were to come in and they were to attack the nuclear facilities in Iran, it could be a set-off for Iran's friends like Hezbollah that you see here in number 9, the Fatah, the Palestinians under Abbas, Syria that is being plagued by civil war right now, and so that could kick off the Psalm 83 war. Now, just to drive my point home here, I got a Fox interview, and I'm going to play this Fox interview. It's pretty short, but you'll see we're definitely on the road to the fulfillment of these prophecies.
The key question, Charles, will Israel strike Iran before the election?
Our own Secretary of Defense has said that it's highly likely, and he gave a time frame, April, May, June, which means the Israelis think that the moment, the zone of immunity where they can no longer attack successfully is approaching. I think he's right. I think the Israelis are serious. Unless something happens between now and mid-year or even November that will threaten the regime, because it won't change its policy, I think Israel will strike, because it cannot live under the threat of annihilation from Iran.
The other night on the online show, you said 90% yes before the election.
Unless something intervenes, I cannot imagine the Israelis are going to allow Iran to go nuclear and to hold a Damocles sword over 6 million Jews all over again. Israel was established to prevent a second Holocaust, not to invite one.
So you can take it for what it's worth. All I know is this. The Lord gave us in specific details about the two wars. You will find those in the scriptures if you read it. And we see the path that is leading to these wars. Now, if you know the scriptures and you watch in the news, you'll understand that every single one of these nations that are mentioned in these prophecies have linked up together, and they are against Israel. And this is definitely one of the signs of the events that are going to take place really, really soon. Now, here's another article that I want to tie in, because it has to do with the Psalm 83 war and also the Iranian war. The headline, Iran offers aid to Palestinian Authority to defeat Israel. Iran tells the Gaza's Hamas, and you'll find when you read, let me go right up so that there's no question about it. You'll see in here, you'll see the Hamas, you'll see the Palestinians, you will see the Hezbollah. So I mean, they're all in here. They're all mentioned in here. So this is when they start talking about these same exact people, your ears should really pay attention. But it goes on to say Gaza's Hamas leader Hanahai, excuse me, it is offering scientific and technological experience to PA, or the Palestinian organization, that's what they're talking about, for a victory over Israel. So they're talking about war, they're talking about, destroying Israel, and essentially this is what God said that they would do, or at least make an attempt to do, and they're talking about. Iran has used the visit to Gaza's Hamas leader, Ishmael, and says to go on to offer scientific and technological experience to the PA for a victory for Israel, Iran's foreign minister. Of course, they're always saying these different things about Israel, how they're going to destroy Israel. So this is just a continuation of that. And then it says Saturday of the need of the Palestinian adherence to the basic principles of resistance as the key ingredient for the victory against Israel. In other words, what they're saying is the Palestinians are not going to let up. Iran was saying don't let up on them because this is how victory will come. It says the Muslims, through unity and with the support of the Islamic Republic of Iran, will liberate the Al-Aqsa Mosque on the Temple Mount in the future. So again, we are talking about the 1967 defeat of the Palestinians, where the Temple Mount, the Jewish Temple Mount, was. So they recaptured it again. And this is the area that Iran wants back. And so Iran is pushing the Palestinians to fight against Israel. So you can actually say that the Palestinian is a satellite nation with Iran for the destruction of Israel. So this is the kind of news that's coming up, and it doesn't surprise anybody who knows Bible prophecy. Now what I'd like to do is go and there's other articles, because this is an article, and I've been warning people to watch what Israel is going to do, because they're going to strike against their enemies that attack them, and this is exactly what's happening now in Israel. Now today the news came out that there's bombings against the Israeli diplomats in different parts of the world. It was warned that this was going to happen, and they're carrying through with their warning. Now it says the wife of an Israeli diplomat in New Delhi and her driver were injured on Monday when the car they were driving was bombed, officials said. The second attempt of bombing diffused outside the Israeli embassy in Tabeshi, Georgia, and about the same time. There was no immediate claim of responsibility for the attacks, but Israel's Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu immediately blamed Iran, which has vowed revenge for the recent assassinations of several scientists involved in Iran's nuclear program. Hezbollah, which receives funding and strong support from Iran, also had promised to revenge the assassination of one of its leaders. So again, let's go up here. You'll see the Hamas is mentioned in the prophecies. You see the Hezbollah, and you see the Hamas in the Gaza Strip. Exactly the people that the Lord warned about, and that's what we are seeing right now. So you see the tension, because of these bombings, are ratcheted up. And there is definitely going to be some problems with this, because every time Israel is attacked, whether it be on their own land or their people in another area, like we see here Israel responds in like manner, and this is just one more step to getting to the actual war that the Lord told us was going to come. And as you see in this article, it says, in all these cases, Netanyahu said the elements behind the attacks were, guess what? Iran and its proxy Hezbollah, of which Hezbollah is in Lebanon, and Lebanon is also one of the nations that the Lord told us was going to come against Israel in the last days. Now for the element of Russia, because we know that the scriptures in Ezekiel 38 and 39, God showed us that the Russians would actually lead this attack against Israel in the last days when Israel felt that they were living in security. Well, obviously that's not happening right now, because we know that Israel is going to make moves to try to get their security when this Psalm 83 war breaks out. And so we know what war will happen first. We know the outcome of both of these wars. Israel will win. But the news, again, is pointing to the fulfillment of this. Now, Russia, who's going to play that lead role, is in the news again and is connecting to prophecy. Look at this. Russia is concerned of the way Israel is openly laying out its war plans against Iran. Now, when you read my book, I'll give you all the documents that will just hopefully open your eyes so that you'll understand that Iran is one of Russia's best friends. They have military agreements, they have friendship agreements, they have commerce agreements, and they're hooked to the hip, exactly like we see in Scripture for this attack, of the Ezekiel attack that the Lord warned us about. So it goes on to say, as Russia foreign ministry officials denounce Israel's hawkish rhetoric on Iran. Now you'll see that there, in many of the articles, Russia has already warned that is, if Israel were to bomb Iran, they would become enemies with Israel and they would bomb Israel, because they considered any attack on Iran is attack on Russia. So we're starting to see this support, the Russian support against Israel and support for their ally Iran. All you have to do, man, you know that this is exactly what the Lord showed us, and this is why that these same nations are linking up and supporting one another. Now there is a video that I'm going to play, but before I get to that video, I want to show you that there's another article here concerning information that will show you that these wars are coming. It says Iran's leaders urge the Hamas prime minister in Gaza to continue the Islamic militant group's resistance against Israel and promise support. State TV reported on Sunday the supreme leader Ayatollah Ali Khamenei told Hamas Ismail Haniyeh that Iran would always stand by the Palestinian resistance against Israel and warned him against compromises. In other words, don't stop, you got to go in there, destroy these people. President Hamad Ahmadinejad, for his part, said it was Iran's duty to stand by the Palestinians. So you see that the people who are standing by with the people who are mentioned in Psalm 83, they're standing by them, pushing them into war. They want them to go into war, and that's exactly what's going to happen. Now, from a Jewish perspective, I want to show you, from all of the warnings that I've been given to you, I want you to see this news from the Jewish perspective, because it is identical to what I've been saying.
The situation's heating up in the Middle East. At the moment, Israel's looking at 3 possible fronts for war: Iran, Syria, and Lebanon. The situation with Egypt, which has undergone a political upheaval by the Muslim Brotherhood, is also in question. As Iran is quickly approaching the point of no return in its ability to produce nuclear weapons, analysts are trying to decipher the meaning of comments from U.S. and Israeli officials on what Israel intends on doing. According to the Associated Press, the United States and its allies believe the window to stop Iran from building a bomb is quickly closing. pushing conflict with the Islamic Republic to the top of the Obama administration's national security worries in the midst of an election year.
Now I'm going to
President
stop.
Barack Obama is still
I'm going to stop it there and ask that if you're on my YouTube channel that you go over to my prophecy site and finish watching that video for time's sake here. But it is very, very interesting, and what he is warning is the same thing that you'll find in my books, the same thing that you'll find in my videos, warning of what these nations are saying, and it is all pointing to these last two prophecies, these wars. We know that these wars are going to take place before the tribulation begins, and if we are very close to these wars, that means we are really close to the 7-year tribulation beginning. And you need to accept the Lord before these things take place, because that means the rapture of the church is even closer, and you don't want to miss the rapture of the church. So please, go to my website today, BibleProphecyMan.com, read the information and watch the rest of the video. I'm sure that it'll be an eye-opener for you. God bless.